All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Right, we're about to start. So are we on, Josh? Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual general meeting for Scouts SA branch tonight. What we're going to do is have a presentation first before we start the annual general meeting proper. And that presentation will be started by myself as the President of Scouts in South Australia, followed by Jan Turnbull, the Chief Commissioner, and also Rebecca Wilson, our new Chief Executive Officer. So we'll now move into the my preparation for the presentation, and I wanted to start that at the level of our strategic plan, because really the strategic plan is a document which actually gives us a roadmap into the next 5, 6, 7 years of what we hope to achieve and what we would like to achieve. And it's really important when you aim that at what our vision is. And our vision is to inspire young people to excel in their life. It sounds quite simple, and to some degree it is. So all we really want is for our young people to do the best that they possibly can today and into the future. And we can support that, and that should be our reason of getting up every morning, the reason we hold meetings, the reason we have activities, the reason we have adventurous activities. Everything we do should be about creating that excellence. We have 4 main goals within our strategic plan, and I'm hoping that a number of people here have actually read the document, and the document is going to be improved somewhat by both the Chief Commissioner and our CEO, Rebecca Wilson, who's going to develop an operational plan to support that. That'll be the getting down into the weeds as how we're actually going to achieve the goals and the objectives of our strategic plan. So our first goal is to grow. Obviously, any organisation that doesn't grow is failing, and you can see there what we want to achieve in 2025. And the pillars are around how we're going to achieve that. So the KPIs for our pillars is to have a 60% increase in consolidated businesses or a 40% increase in our income. So the 2 Jameses who are sitting in this environment tonight, that's kind of your challenge. And also in that is to identify other opportunities which we may have. Youth focused. We're a youth organisation. We have to be youth focused. And part of that is a bit of a challenge for our leaders, is in our pillar, to increase the amount of training that's involved with our leaders and to have a greater success rate and a greater number of our leaders fully trained. And the purpose of that is that the better we have our training, the more enjoyable the kids will, and the more they'll get out of the program. So there's a nexus between the two, the training aspect and what our the enjoyment and the resilience that the kids get from being involved in our programs is great. Community impact. My overall aim in this aspect is that wouldn't it be great that every time government decided to put out a new policy position in relation to youth, that they came to Scouts and said, what do you think about this? Because we are, I argue, the preeminent youth organisation in this country. But we don't have that engagement at the moment, and we don't have that understanding within the greater community that we are a preeminent youth organisation and providing so much value to the community. Significant amount of value that we provide. So the pillar there is to actually engage in the community at all levels, to actually provide real evidence of what we're doing for the betterment of our community. And Jan, our Commissioner, Chief Commissioner, is doing a lot of wonderful things about that engagement piece, which is really important for us. Diversity. Now, diversity covers a whole lot of things. It covers cultural diversity, it covers diversity of age, and it's also covers diversity in the affluence of individuals and families and all those sorts of things. So it's a fairly broad spectrum goal, but I think one of the exciting bits within this pillar is to have that increase of leaders under the age of 30, which we do need, because that's our future. You've got all old people like me being leaders in the organisation. That's not going to do much for the future of the organisation. So what we need to do is to have people coming forward who can take on those leadership positions. I'm now going to talk about, in the following slides, two issues. One's called redress and one's called civil litigation. Now, both of these issues, if not managed appropriately, could see the end of Scouting. But we are exceedingly lucky in this state because we've got a number of businesses which are growing and supporting us as an organisation. We also have a very strong volunteer base which is supporting the organisation. So we're in a pretty good place. However, this is a significant risk to us, and I'll just share with you some of the numbers that we are currently dealing with so you have a greater understanding of what the challenge is, and then you might understand why, on occasions, we are selling the odd Scout Hall, or we're changing process, or we're actually putting some effort in our businesses to grow so they can be more financially sustainable. So redress at the moment, we have about 40 applications. We've resolved 29 of those at the moment, and it's cost us just under $2 million to do that. And I really need to acknowledge here the good work of Steve Haswell, his involvement in redress and speaking to the individuals with Jan to actually resolve some of the more of the domestic sort of issues that these individuals have, and our support to them. Because while I don't like paying this sort of money out, however, these people are victims of abhorrent behaviour which should have never occurred. And the pleasing thing is, if you can find anything pleasing in any of this, is that most of the offending, if you want to use that terminology, predates 2002. So the good thing about this is that most things haven't happened since 2002. So hopefully, and that's because greater training, stronger policy settings, and greater awareness of the issues. So that's a good place to be in. So that's redress. Civil litigation. So the difference between redress and civil litigation is that redress is a Commonwealth legislated position that people can put in their allegations to redress. Redress make a decision as to how much should be paid, and basically once that decision is made, we have had some opportunities to further review that decision, but in most cases that decision's made. Civil litigation is completely different. Civil litigation is around a person who believes that they've been a victim, going to their lawyer and actually basically taking civil action around Scouting. Completely different to the redress aspect, and usually a lot more costly for us as an organisation. So at the moment we've got 14 litigants. We've been able to resolve a few of those, not many, 4. We've paid out around just over $500,000 for that, but there's a bit of an estimation that we could be up to around $4 million. However, we are always settling at a lower rate than what the initial claim is for, and that's part of any negotiation which you do. And we are really pushing our lovely insurance companies you can understand why they have a bad name, because this is one of them, about them paying out. So we're really pushing that quite strongly at the moment, because not all the time, but some of the time we have been insured during these periods, and there's a child molestation aspect to that insurance policy. And so we're pushing, whatever term you want to use, to actually get them to come to the party and do what they should be doing, is paying out on their claims. The summary of what I've just said. So at the moment, we've paid out 1.9 million, as I said, just under 2 million. We could pay up to $9 or $10 million in total. We have a contingency fund. Now that contingency fund at the moment is 2.5 million, and that has been brought to us due to the sale of some scouting properties, and also some, as an example, the arena. The arena went into that. And also the good work by our own businesses, which actually assist in that, actually providing some funds to that. So as you can see there, the difference is, a fair bit, 6.7 million, but that isn't today, that's over the next 7 years. 'Cause that's how long the redress system has lasted for 10. We've served about 3, so we've got about 7 to go. So that's kind of our thinking out. Some of these numbers are quite rubbery. The amount paid isn't rubbery, that's solid, but the amount that we may have to pay is the best guesstimate we've got. And just as an example, some of our eastern states branches are selling halls to pay for their redress that have got 100 kids in them. So we are very lucky here at this point in time, because of our strong financial sustainability, because of our businesses and our ability to sell some assets which we've got. We're in a far stronger position than our eastern brothers and sisters who are, wouldn't it be horrific to have to sell a scout hall which has 100 kids in it? That would be horrendous. So, but we're not in that position. I want to move on to the arena, and the main reason being is that when we had the arena, there was a lot of criticism that came to branch in relation to that, for a whole raft of reasons. But what is quite clear is that the funds which were used for the purchase of the arena in no way was taken away from operational scouting activities. We took out a loan, and we also had some of our KMF fund, which is not used for operational scouting, it is used as an investment portfolio. So it cost us $1 million. We've just sold it for basically 4 million. Because it was half, we basically doubled our money over 8 years. Now those people have got their own super funds. It's not a bad effort over 8 years to double your money. So it was a good financial investment. This is a real positive story, and it's great to see James here from Woodhouse, who it's his blood and tears that are predominantly into this, into the success story of the Sione Refuge. And the point that I really wanted to highlight here, it has been completed, it'll be open soon, which is all great. It looks like a spectacular asset to us as an organisation, something we should all be very, very proud of. And I'm sure that we will all have great activities up there at Woodhouse involving Sione. But the point I really wanted to focus on here is when we sold Sione Hills, there's a lot of negativity that came back to us and saying, oh, well, you've sold it for $554,000 and those funds will never come back into what we promised they would come back into as being Woodhouse. Clearly they did, and I just wanted to make that point. They did come back, and it's now turned into a great asset which can be used by the whole organisation as opposed to where we were before, which we really had a risk as opposed to an asset that we were dealing with. Wonka. All I really wanted to explain here is that this is one of those really exciting adventures that we're going to have into the future, where there's going to be a real balance between our volunteers and the volunteer environment up at Wilkin, as well as being able to get some school groups to go up into Wilkin from Monday to Friday, which is not the time that Scouts predominantly use Wilkin, but actually turn it into an area of financial growth. And while it will be financial growth, it will also improve the assets of Wilkin. And what we're doing is that we have a model at Woodhouse at the moment where school groups come up and use Woodhouse during the week. That model has been so successful that we have no opportunity to grow anymore because it's totally booked out for school groups. Here, we've got the model, it's been very successful. Here we can grow Wilkin in the same way. We're not doing anything new because we've already done it at Woodhouse, and this is another opportunity for us to grow the business of Scouting, both financially and from a recruitment aspect, because many of these kids that come up there, they can see the wonderful things they can do in Scouting and hopefully be recruited into Scouting. So that's all I really wanted to say in relation to this, but this is a really exciting time for us. As you'd all know now, but it is appropriate to acknowledge Dan's work within Scouting over 23 years as CEO, and he has retired, and that retirement occurred earlier this year, and it's really appropriate to acknowledge all of his good work and wish him all the very best, and for Sharon's best in their retirement. So thank you, Dan. I've had a few conversations with him about his retirement, and he appears to be enjoying life. The future. Now, the future from my perspective is all about building that really good team, that strong team that we all need. There's a lot of things that need to be done, which I'll refer to when I get into the AGM proper in a minute, but I think our future is strong. We're coming from a strong financial, sustainable position, and with both Jan and Rebecca on board now, I think they're going to be a great team working together to grow our business, to grow Scouting from a membership basis, and also grow the value of Scouting into our community. So thank you, and I invite Jan to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Know most of the faces in the room, so fantastic. It's a pleasure to address you again this year. I'm well into my first term as Chief Commissioner and so glad to be doing the best job in the world. Scouts groups are up and running face-to-face, performing arts are continuing their journey to the stage, and we are in full speed to deliver JamX to our youth members early next year. I had the privilege of judging at Cohen Cup last weekend and watched the kids freezing cold in awe of all of the sections of Scouting coming together under the new program to compete and form lasting friendships. Through adverse weather, as I said, everyone remained smiling and everyone enjoyed themselves, which is great to see, following the cancellation of so many events through COVID. So thank you to all of the leaders and families for supporting Scouting and the youth of South Australia. I'm looking very much forward to attending many more events and meeting more of you over the next 12 months. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. And firstly, what I wanted to do was to thank the President and Chief Commissioner and Scouts SA for this opportunity to be part of this incredible movement. Having now reached week 5 of my tenure, I've been really impressed with everything I've seen, especially the activities and the work of the volunteers at Scouts SA. I've enjoyed meeting all of my team through recent visits to Woodhouse. I've been to the Scout Outdoor Centre and Annapurna and visited all our recycling centres in South Australia. And the Chief Commissioner also kindly invited me to join her in visiting a cub group at Hallett Cove, where I saw the impressive climbing wall and took 2.5 hours to get my 12-year-old away from there. But I got to chat to all of the team about some areas where we can start to work together to improve the experience of becoming a member and also being a leader in the activities that we offer. My first observations of Scouts is the depth and breadth of the opportunities in Scouting and the overwhelming commitment of the volunteers that's been displayed. Scouts contributes that have been made to the community via the activities that are available, the youth advocacy, the diversity and inclusion, the adult training and development, vet qualifications, performing arts, etc. are just immeasurable. I'm really proud to be part of the purpose to contribute to the education of young people to excel at life. Yes, that's me on the wall. The future focus for the team at Glen Osmond Road, though, will be in supporting the Chief Commissioner and the BEC, and will be to review everything that's currently in place. We're going to be looking at the foundation of the organisation, competencies and capabilities, and ensure that we're setting up to enable success into the future in South Australia and Queensland. Our goal is to continue to contribute to SA in the world's leading educational youth movement for young people, active citizens, and creating that positive change in the community. So I really look forward to getting to meet and know all of you. I've met quite a few of you so far, which has been lovely, and to learn so much more about Scouts, what your involvement is, and how the team can work with you. So thank you again.
You all right, Josh? Yep. Now it's my time to actually open the annual general meeting proper. But before I do this, and this is at great risk to those out there in the virtual world, the advice. So the Constitution requires that a minimum of 40 people attend at this meeting. So I ask all of those voting members who are in that lovely virtual world out there for their need to indicate their presence by clicking the link, which should be, and I was told it should be, at the bottom, and confirming, yes, that you are a voting member and that you are party to this annual general meeting, because that will be recorded so we can then quite obviously say that we've had the requisite number of people at the annual general meeting. I don't think there's a help desk, is there, Josh? No. So, good evening everyone, and thank those who attended here tonight and the many more observing the AGM by virtue of their laptops, smartphones, computers and other technologies which I don't understand. Thank you for taking time out from your busy lives to be involved. I truly hope that you have found the presentation, which we've just done, informative. It is very important to us to increase the awareness of the challenges and opportunities that we will face over the next 12 months. I'm a firm believer that those who are well informed can better advocate for the organisation, and I hope that this presentation and the AGM will assist in that learning. On that note, I now declare Scouts Australia SA Branch 2021 AGM open, and I welcome those here tonight and those online. In particular, I wish to acknowledge members of the BEC, Janice Bates, Langdon Blight, Wendy Kirk, who are here tonight, and Jackie Wall and Kathleen Affleck, who are online. The Chief Commissioner, Jan Turnbull, who you've just... Assistant Chief Commissioners, Greg Warnes, Marlene Hazy and Simon Frederick, and I believe that Chris Wise is online. And importantly, two Life Member inductees, Marion Browett and Julie Wilkin, welcome. The Chief Executive Officer of SA Branch, Rebecca Wilson, and our General Managers, Steve Haswell, James Sellers, James McLaren and Tanya Hayward, and headquarters staff. Thank you all for coming along and being involved in our very important annual general meeting. It is also appropriate to acknowledge several apologies, being Tony Aldis, James Carter, Bill Field, Sue Hill, John Hooper, Peter and Wendy Lane, Hattie Mugney, Andrew O'Donoghue, Jennifer Reid, Bradley Wilkin, Reg Williams and Michelle Wynne. I now ask the meeting to pause for acknowledgement to country.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live and do our scouting activities,
and recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and community.
We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, and I wish to acknowledge the great work of those members who were involved in that presentation, and I think it was quite an appropriate acknowledgement. I now invite our Chief Commissioner to acknowledge members who have passed since our last AGM. Jan.
I see you, Reg. You're here, I know. We acknowledge those that have gone home since the last AGM: Kevin Cooper, Tim Bragg, Lindsay Ronald Norris, Don Payne, Christopher Travis, Desmond J. Murphy, Peter Bruce, Peter Dermott, Robert Runge, Greg Curnow, John William Cove, Rico Pizzino, Laura Cools and Colin Rolt. There have been some family members who have passed away during this period, and we also offer our sincere condolences to them. And I'd now like to ask that we pause for a minute in silence to remember them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. The minutes of the last AGM, the minutes of the previous AGM have been circulated. Members have been asked to either vote yes, no or abstain. This meeting was held at 10 a.m. on the 30th of July 2020, and the vlog annual general meeting held on the 30th of July as circulated be accepted.
I would like to second the motion.
I'm pleased to announce that our members have, through the pre-meeting ballot, accepted the minutes of the last annual general meeting held on the 30th of July 2020 as circulated. I would now like to introduce the Association's annual report. While there may, I want to ask people to put their hands up, but I'm hoping that the majority of people have in fact read it, and I hope those that have agree that there are a lot of things that is very good about Scouting, which was about the introductory of the annual report referred to that. It is our job as the leaders within Scouting, and when I say that I mean that everyone watching tonight, either in that virtual world or here tonight, we are all leaders, and we should all continually promote the many benefits of Scouting to our community. As leaders, it is our responsibility to have, and those that have been spoken about tonight and those that haven't. Scouting is in a good place when it comes to working through adversity, as we have always done well in accepting the challenge, fixing the problem and then moving forward. It's one of those key things that Scouting, especially within this state, have those skills in. So I have great confidence in all of you that we will not only survive the challenges that we've got against us, but also grow. When I critically examine my performance as your president and the role of the BEC, I believe that there isn't a greater need to pay further attention towards bringing everyone together to support the uniform side of Scouting. We are all here, and it is about our youth as to what we do. So tonight I commit that through our strategic plan and the operational plans being developed and Rebecca, we will develop and implement a number of strategies that will help to grow the organisation by financially from a membership position and to grow that value of Scouting into the community, which is so important to us. To do this, we need your assistance. We cannot do it alone. We will publish an email shortly, something that you can provide advice to, your views, or simply ask questions of the executive. We encourage you to identify opportunities for improvement. I could have said that, but I'm saying identify opportunities for improvement or things that we are doing well. It is highly likely that we will publish some of these ideas and, importantly, the answers for the understanding of the entire movement. If one person has a question, I'm sure that there will be many others that have a similar question. You to make that difference and to add further value to our Scouting. And at our next AGM, I will report on how successful these actions have been. And next AGM. So we have to see how that goes. I'm confident if we get this right, our youth will be able to excel in their lives, both today and in the future.
Proposal. So again, firstly, I wanted to thank all of our wonderful volunteers for an awesome but very difficult year, trying to keep our curves, challenges with communication, conflict resolution, face masks, I hate them, and social distancing. So well done to everyone in Scouting. Number of around 50 leaders and a small number of youth, around 400, but enough of those youth to start a drive for new marketing plan or campaign that will involve all groups. Our achievements have been many in the last 12 months. Despite hardship, we've embarked on an engagement strategy. This is a key pillar of our ops plan, and we have managed to secure John Clark, who's here tonight, to take on this work along with youth advocacy and broader community. Groups in Ataqua at West Torrens, Echunga, Yankalilla, all with strong leadership and great youth numbers. We launched recognised. We have supported many groups in writing and winning grants. We will run a successful JamX, cross your fingers, should be a wonderful opportunity for our Scouts to have a Jamboree experience following the cancellation of Victoria. Some activities have not been available during COVID, and we're looking into this heavily at the moment to decentralise some activities. Strength to strength, as Paul mentioned before, I wanted to recognise a wonderful donation, thank you, from the Cameron Roy family has mentioned that too. And finally, we've written a strategic ops plan for the uniform side of Scouting to address sustainability, marketing, and most importantly, social media. So Chiefs Council is currently looking at a restructure exciting. Whilst I've managed well over 80 different engagements in the last 12 months and I've met many leaders, I still have many to go. And the rest of my HQ team, Adam, Hannah and Taylor, for their support. I know these people are the ones that membership sees most often, and I acknowledge their expertise and their willingness to help. So well done, fantastic. I also wanted to thank all of my ACCs for their support. What an amazing
Thank you, Jan. I'm pleased to announce that through our pre-meeting ballot, members have voted to adopt the 2020-21 annual report. I now invite the Chair of our Finance Committee, Mr Langdon Blight, to endorse the adoption of the balance sheet and the accounts as presented in the annual report and to provide his presentation. Thank you.
Chief Commissioner, committee members and members of the South Australian branch of Scouts Australia. My name is Langdon Blight and I have been Chair of the branch's Finance and Audit Committee since March of last year. I was also the Scout Leader at the Hawthorn Scout Group and I was previously the Finance Director and an Executive Committee member of the 2019 Australian Scout Jamboree. It's my role this evening to present the audited, consolidated financial report for the year ended 31st of March 2021 and make comments on the results this year and give you some confidence that in what constitutes continues to be a difficult operating environment, we are performing relatively well and we are setting the branch up for a successful future. What should stand out to you is that our financial results show a turnaround between last and this financial year of just over $6.7 million. Last financial year, we reported a deficit of almost $4.5 million, surplus of just over $2.3 million. Pleasing as that turnaround is, it's important that we look behind those figures to see that we are still very much impacted by COVID-19 and the form of the JobKeeper subsidy, as well as growth in the market value of our Ken Maguire fund, thanks largely to the recovery of the Australian Stock Exchange during that period. The 2020-2021 financial year gives us cause to feel cautious optimism and that we are weathering the pandemic in relatively good shape and we are setting ourselves up appropriately for the future. Last year's $4.5 million deficit. We operate 3 commercial enterprises, the Scout Recycling Centre, the Scout Outdoor Centre and the Woodhouse Activity Centre. Woodhouse was a success financially. The Scout Outdoor Centre did not achieve budget last year, but steps have been taken in this financial year to make this enterprise sustainable through the upcoming store relocation and the amalgamation. To our Scout Recycling Centre operations in SA and Queensland. This was attributed to the start-up costs of our Queensland operations, the impact of COVID and the drop in metal prices. Around $1.9 million to our deficit. The value of our share portfolio overall dropped by $1.1 million and the fund value reflected in 2019-2020 point. Finally, we needed to revalue the arena and reflect that valuation in our profit and loss. The valuation figure was conservative and let's now look at our 2020-2021 results. In setting the budget for our 2020-21 financial year, we anticipated a number of COVID-related challenges. Indeed, we experienced revenue losses across all sectors of our operations. However, strategies were put in place to manage this. We sought and obtained rent relief and measures were taken to reduce labour costs. To assist members, membership fees were dropped by 75% for a full 12-month period. Down due to the impact of COVID-19 compared to the previous year. The operating restrictions we faced impacted consumer confidence, and as a result, attend and host functions and school camps at Woodhouse, and the volume of beverages consumed in South Australia and Queensland venues dropped. The profit and loss statement also includes payments of just under $1.2 million, described as meeting our responsibility to our survivors. These funds use through our participation in the National Redress scheme. The fund has been built up principally through the $30,000 profit. Fortunately, significant support was obtained from the Commonwealth Government's JobKeeper scheme. The recovery of the Australian Stock Exchange and the careful fund management of our Ken Maguire Fund and other minor share investments all through the various strategies to keep costs in check through the JobKeeper grant and the share market recovery. Rebuild our previously depleted cash reserves to adequate levels. We have noticed this particularly at Woodhouse, as it is seen as an excellent facility for South Australia-based activity and commercial operations for opportunities to grow our income streams to enable us to further invest in scouting facilities and programs. Principally due to the impact of COVID-19. As a concluding summary, throughout the 2020-21 financial year and continues to have an impact in this current contributed to ongoing improvement in our financial position. But our 2019-20 sound, and we are currently being repositioned for growth in sales and improved cost efficiency. For cautious optimism. Finally, as per the reporting and the contracted related party transactions for the following period. I also ask you to note that the Branch Executive Committee has changed our financial year April to the 31st of March, and it will in future be from the 1st of October to the 30th of September. Accordingly, our next set of accounts will cover the 6-month period and from then on we'll return to the 12-month cycle ending 30th of September.
I now call upon Wendy Kirk to second the motion.
I'd like to support and second the current motion.
I can now announce that the branch accounts and the balance sheet have been accepted by a majority of the voting members of the branch. And I wish to thank Langdon because as President it's far easier for me to stand up here when we've got a $2 million surplus as opposed to a $4 million deficit. So thank you. Now the important part of the meeting tonight. I now call the election of the Branch Executive Committee for 2021 to 22 has been concluded. Resumes were circulated with the agenda and the names listed on the ballot paper and online were in alphabetical order. Last year, in 2020, branch voting members approved a constitutional change that the branch shall have an AGM which shall take place no later than 6 calendar months after the end of the financial year of the branch, aligned with the Associations and Corporation Act 1985. With this in mind, the latest that we can have our next AGM is in March 22, which isn't very far away. As a consequence, positions filled at the last AGM in 2020 will become vacant in March 22, which is around 18 months later than the 2020 AGM. This has created a little bit of confusion and there's a table going up somewhere, I'm hoping. Yeah, thank you, which does provide some advice as to the future. All right. It now gives me great pleasure to invite our new CEO, Rebecca Wilson, forward to explain the voting process.
Thank you, President. So, in accordance with our Constitution, only members of the branch are able to cast their vote. That is, the Chief Scout, Life members, members of the Branch Executive Committee, the Chief Commissioner, Commissioners, Branch Rover Council Chairman, Group Leaders, Rover Crew Leaders, Patrons of SA Branch and Chairs of Group Committees and Honorary Members. This year, as we are again restricted to a certain number of persons together and have decided to open the voting to all voting members via postal or online voting. These votes have now been counted.
Thank you. The process for postal and/or online voting for the position of Vice President commenced on the 31st of August 2021 and closed on Monday the 13th September 2021. In accordance with the Regulation 10 of the Constitution, postal votes were received and we thank Langdon Blight in his efforts and assistance with the counting of these votes. The resumes for the nominees were circulated with the agenda and as is our practice, the names listed on the ballots were presented in alphabetical order. The nominees for the Vice President position from now until the 2023 AGM, which will be the inclusive period of time. I would like it, the two nominees were Simon Gray and Joshua Smart. I'm pleased to advise that Mr Simon Gray has been appointed in this position as Vice President until the 2023 AGM. Well done. At this time, I'd also like to thank James Carter, who has been performing this role for several years for his efforts and dedication over that time. And I would also like to thank Josh Smart, who also put his name forward for this position, for his commitment and dedication to the BEC over a number of years. Thank you both, James and Josh. It is important to note that our Constitution states that the BEC shall comprise not more than 2 supporting members, other than adult leaders being professional, commercial or other advisors or supporters of the movement in South Australia elected at the annual general meeting. With this in mind, the current nominee will be appointed to this position until the 2022 AGM, which is, as I said previously, likely to be held in March. There being no nominations for the supporting member, so I now appoint Wendy Kirk, will be appointed to this position of supporting member until the 2022 AGM. Congratulations, Wendy. Well done. There being no other nominations for the adult leader position, Jackie Wall is appointed to this position until the 2023 AGM. Well done, Jackie. And there being no other nominations for the young adult person position, Matthew Warren is appointed to this position for a period until the 2023 AGM. Well done and thank you, Matthew. I would now like to invite the Chair of the Human Endeavour Recognition Committee, Mr Greg Warnes, to move the awarding of life membership to the persons that fulfil both branch requirements. Greg.
Ladies and gentlemen, the branch may confer membership of the branch for life upon any person who has given distinguished service to the movement in South Australia and must have given a minimum of 25 years total active service in any role, adult leader or adult member, committee member or other supporter. This year, I am pleased to recommend on behalf of the committee the following 2 candidates: Julie Wilkin, District Leader, Limestone Coast District, and Marion Browett, Venture Leader, Eden Hills and Blackwood Scout Groups.
Thank you, Greg, for your nominations, and more importantly, and just as important, I should say, for the important work that you do as the Chair of the HERC. So thank you for that. And I would now like to call on the Chief Commissioner to second the nominations.
I have great pleasure in seconding the nominations. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to announce that the membership has approved the appointment of life members, and I congratulate both Julie and Marion for their service to Scouting. Well done.
So I'd like to call Julie Wilkin up to the front, please. Julie has given 29 years of service to Scouting. Julie is currently a District Leader, Limestone Coast District, and has spent all of her Scouting life with the Lucindale Scout Group and the South East District. Julie has attended 17 major branch and national events, including 8 Australian jamborees in varied roles. A lifelong learner, Julie's Scout record reflects her regular upskilling to ensure the youth in the Limestone District always have a qualified leader to step in to attend section nights, activities and events. Julie was awarded the Silver Emu in 2016. Congratulations, Julie. and to call up Marion Browett. Marion is currently a venture leader with the Blackwood and Eden Hills Scout groups. Marion is also an integral part of the Adelaide Gang Show team, going above and beyond to assist in the personnel department, looking after the wellbeing of the cast and crew for over 20 years. She's given me the heads up. I'll hear her yelling in the background at the performance tomorrow night, telling everyone to shut up. Yeah. Marion has attended over 40 major branch, national and international events in every role from activity leader, line leader to sites and services. In her total service of over 25 years, Marion has mentored a great many youth members to achieve their peak awards. Marion received the Silver Koala in 2016. Congratulations, Marion.
Come for a photo opportunity.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'll now move on the agenda to the appointment of Honorary Commissioner. In the voting process, we asked voting members of the branch to consider Mr Neville Tompkins, OAM, as our Honorary Commissioner of the branch. In accordance with Article 11 of the South Australian Branch Constitution, the branch may confer honorary membership of the branch upon any person who has provided or is providing specific support to Scouting and is entitled to hold that honorary membership for a period of 1 year or until the next branch annual general meeting, whichever occurs first. Mr Neville Tompkins, OAM, is the current National Coordinator Redress and the Honorary Commissioner of the South Australian Branch, which is a pivotal role for Scouting in light of the National Redress Scheme and our exposure to civil litigation. At the November 2019 NEC meeting, it was strongly recommended that all branches appoint a National Coordinator Redress, and importantly, if we don't, there's significant issues that we have in where we may breach the Privacy Act, which we obviously don't want to do. Appointing Neville in this position, it mitigates that risk. Last year at our last AGM, Mr Tompkins was appointed to that position, and this is something that we will have to do for probably the next 7 years. I am pleased to announce that after a pre-meeting ballot, Mr Neville Tompkins, OAM, has been appointed as an Honorary Commissioner of the South Australian Branch. I now call upon our CEO to address the meeting concerning our branch auditors.
Last year, the previous CEO and CFO conducted a tender for the appointment of the new audit firm, which resulted in Nexia Edwards Marshall being selected and then appointed at the 2020 AGM. It was reported at the AGM the intention of branch to conduct a search of this nature every 4 to 5 years. With this in mind, the CEO recommends that Nexia Edwards Marshall be appointed for their second year as the association's auditors.
I'd like to move the CEO's recommendation to reappoint Nexia Edwards Marshall.
And I second the nomination.
Thank you, Rebecca, Jan and Langdon. I'm pleased to announce that after the pre-meeting ballot, the audit firm Nexia Edwards Marshall has been appointed as the association's auditors for the next 12 months. Amendment to our branch constitution. We have asked voting members of our branch to consider a relatively minor amendment to our constitution to ensure strict alignment with the Associations and Corporation Act 1985 that has been brought to our attention. It is important to note that this change does not in any way impact on the workings of our constitution. I will now try not to confuse you further. However, the Associations and Corporation Act 85 states that in accordance with Section 23A of the Act, the rules, the constitution of the association must include the powers of the association with sufficient detail, and that the association may be wound up in the manner provided for in the Act. Consequently, voting members of the branch were asked to consider an amendment to the Constitution to add a new clause, 1.9, as follows. The association shall have all the powers conferred by Section 25 of the Act. This obviously created some other numbers that had to be moved around, so we also asked voting members to consider the amendment to the Constitution, whereas we add in a new clause 20.1 and the renumbering of the remaining clauses 20.1, 20.2 and 20.3. In saying this, I just want to make it very clear, we don't intend on winding up. I now ask for the Chief Commissioner, Jan Turnbull, to
It's very frustrating with these masks, but I definitely would love to move the amendment to the Constitution. Thank you. And I'd like to call on a seconder, sorry.
And I would like to second the motion.
On that note, I'm very pleased to announce that the voting members have approved the constitutional change. As I stated in my introductory remarks tonight, I thank everyone for being involved tonight, and that I hope that everyone has a better understanding of some of the challenges that the branch has at the moment and will have into the future. But more importantly, with that understanding, I really ask for two things: to advocate for your branch. It's not my branch, it's not Jan's branch, it's not Rebecca's branch, it is our branch. And we all do some wonderful things for the youth of South Australia. And I also encourage people to support the email address which I referred to in my opening comments about if you do have ideas, if you do have, I'll use the word grizzles, let's put it out there, or you do have compliments. They should all go down and actually, so we can understand what is happening and so that we can provide further advice. I've spoken a lot tonight about the need to grow the organisation. And there's two aspects of that growth. One is growing our membership, and one is growing the financial sustainability of the organisation, for those reasons which were quite evident when I spoke about redress in civil litigation. The issue around membership is predominantly in the responsibility of our Chief Commissioner, but it can be heavily supported by the branch general and from the good work that Rebecca Wilson's actually doing as our CEO. They go hand in hand. And vice versa, the growth of our businesses can also be supported by our youth and our adult leader membership as well. So there's no isolation here, and we have to work better together. And it was remiss of me in my introductory comments not to refer to the Scout Outdoor Centre. So James is here. He's the General Manager of our Scout Outdoor Centre. We have had communication to the branch recently about the move of the Scout Outdoor Centre, and that is now moving to the parade at Norwood as of the 11th of October. I think this is a great opportunity for us to grow our retail business in a way that we've never been able to do it before. It's a wonderful site. It has parking, which is a good park. It's going to be open 7 days a week now, while our existing shop is open 7 days a week. So it's going to have the availability to buy uniform items 7 days a week with parking. It also has a greater range, it will be able to provide a greater range of outdoor clothing and material. And I just think it is a wonderful opportunity for us to grow this business to a whole new level that we've never had before. It is, the new shop is going to be called Exerbia. If people have got questions as to why we've got the word Exerbia, I put them to Jan as our marketing guru. But I take the view it's all around the name is supported by the service, which is first class. It always has been at the Scout Shop, so thank you, James. The quality of that service, the opportunity of that service, and the real commitment to scouting is what will turn this new change into a success. So, yes, it's sad to some extent that we're moving out of Rundle Street. That doesn't mean we'll never go back, but financially we just cannot afford the high rents that are being asked for there. And in time, the other shop, which we've got there, Annapurna, will also move. I would now like to especially thank the crew down the back of the room, in particular Josh, who has managed all this technical stuff, the best way to describe it for me, who makes all of this happen in such an easy way for him, but not so much for me. It is quite incredible, and he is such an asset to our organisation. Thank you. I also need to thank Angela. She is the epitome of a person working in the background but doing such a great job. This AGM and all the pre-leading aspects of this AGM would never be able to occur without her assistance. So thank you, Angela. You've done a wonderful job. And I also need to thank all of the headquarter staff involved in tonight, both Mandy and Jenny. You've done a wonderful job, and thank you. And there's one change or amendment I wish to make. When I was reading out the apologies, on my list I had Reg. So I apologise, Reg. You are definitely here. I can see you. So we probably need to make that as a notation in the minutes that Reg was actually here. So, on that note, I thank you all for being involved tonight. I hope you have found it worthwhile, and hopefully next year we might be able to do it in slightly different circumstances. So thank you very much.